Peter Mandelson, British ambassador to the U.S. This is from Mandelson. When are you going to the island at Christmas? I'm having trouble getting air tickets to St. Bart's and was wondering about going via U.S., New York, or Miami. But this also may be difficult because of availability of BA miles. What are your plans and how do I fit into them? God, that is so pathetic. This is a first email too. He's like, I really want to be your friend, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what are your plans and how can I be one of your friends, please? A week later, Epstein told Mandelson an unidentified would meet with Jay Lefkowitz, who's one of his defense lawyers. Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him, okay? And Lefkowitz had been a senior advisor to former U.S. President George W. Bush's administration. In January 2008, he was serving as official U.S. envoy for human rights in North Korea, while simultaneously working as a partner at law firm Kirkland & Ellis. So, does that mean Mr. Big is George Bush? And this is 2008, so Bush would have been president at the time. I used to be able to do a George Bush accent. Let me see if I can do it. Now, we gotta stop these terrorist killers from using their nuclear weapons. Now, you fool me once, shame on you. As the old saying goes, fool me two times. You can't be, you gotta be, you're not gonna get fooled. If somebody is a fool and they get fooled by me, that's twice. So you better not wait around for number 3. Hey, it's the Goblin Queen. Okay, now what I really wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about that, don't get me wrong, but there's been some apparently I say crazy too much. Crazy.
Apparently I say crazy too much.
I'm trying to stop saying crazy. Bloomberg, you may remember Michael Bloomberg, America's sweetheart, heartthrob, billionaire, ran for president, lost. This is his periodical. And there's some interesting shit that they found. Apparently Bloomberg has gotten their hands on a massive stack of emails from Jeffrey Epstein. They got like his personal emails. And let's just read this. It's from a certain period in his life. It's from 2002 until 2022, which is funny because he died in 2019. So I guess they got a bunch of like the whatever automatic subscription emails he was getting. But it's mostly apparently most active between 2005 and 2008. So this is how they vetted the Epstein emails they got. We examined the emails themselves as well as all enclosures to the emails. 4 independent experts reviewed our methods and said they aligned with best practices. We did find evidence that some emails had been deleted. Okay, that's interesting that they found stuff that's been deleted. And here's I believe this is the first article they put out about this. And this is about Peter Mandelson, who we've talked about before. The prominent Labour politician who was named British ambassador to the U.S. this year expressed steadfast support and offered to discuss Epstein's now infamous 2008 case with his contacts. So when the Epstein birthday book came out, Peter Mandelson had sent him this multi-page like picture book story of how wonderful Epstein was and how yummy it was to hang out on his island. And how he's got such interesting friends and just like weird shit. And then Bloomberg put out this article. And this article actually led to Peter Mandelson being fired. And he wasn't just like working at Best Buy. This guy was the ambassador, the UK ambassador to the US, which is interesting. You know, they made one Epstein friend ambassador while another Epstein friend was, of course, the US president. So on Thursday, so this is the update here. On Thursday, Peter Mandelson was fired as UK ambassador to the US. This is like, after this article came out. The government cited the emails published in this story. Here's the statement in full. The emails show the depth and extent of Peter Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. In particular, Mandelson's suggestion that Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. In light of that, and mindful of the victims of Epstein's crimes, he's been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect. All right, so let's get into the shit that they found here. The day before Jeffrey Epstein reported to a Florida jail in June 2008 to begin serving time for soliciting sex from a minor. Yes, that was the charge, even though they had him dead to rights on running a vast pyramid scheme of sexual abuse. He received an outraged message from a friend, anguished at the injustice of it all. I think the world of you. Oh, I think the world of you. I don't actually know how he talks. I just assume he talks like this. I think the world of you, and I feel hopeless and furious about what has happened. Peter Mandelson wrote in an email obtained by Bloomberg News. I can still barely understand it. It just could not happen in Britain. Look at Jimmy Savile, for goodness sake. He gets away with it. We are a much better country. I believe they didn't publish that last part, but that's what I think he probably said too. At the time, Mandelson was European Commissioner for Trade. Today, he's the UK's ambassador in Washington, the most prestigious posting in Britain's diplomatic service, and the latest in a decades-long career of high-profile positions in government and politics. Wow. And so they included a couple clips from, this was that picture book I was saying he put in the birthday book. But wherever he is in the world, he remains my best pal. And there's another one, this one, who is like something like, oh, he'd come and visit every so often, and then he'd leave. He leaving you with some interesting friends to entertain instead. And there we go. Okay, so Epstein brought these people over, an interesting friend. Oh, they didn't include the craziest page. Did they? Maybe later they do? No, they don't. There's a really nuts page about the island where he's like, oh, and he'd bring you he'd let his friends stay at his properties. And he's like, yum, yum. Here we go. This is it. Or in one of his glorious homes he likes to share with his friends. Yum, yum. Yum, yum. Like it's one thing to say, oh, one of my best friends. Another thing to be like, oh, you've got such interesting friends. It's another thing to be like, oh, yum, yum. You let me stay in your house. Yum, yum. Listen, I've had friends let me crash. I've been to friends' place. My friends have let me, even stay there when they're not at home. Like, and I write a thank you message. Like I'm gracious. I'm a gracious guest. But yum yum is such a strange way of saying that. Such a strange way of expressing your gratitude. Yes, is that what I sound like? Yo, that's funny. I sound like Merlin from Sword in the Stone. It's funny because I watched that movie, was one of my like 5 VHS tapes as a kid, and I've seen that movie probably 200 times, and I do that voice a lot. I only am now realizing that must be where I got it from. Oh yes, I'm Peter Mandelson, Merlin. All right, where were we? Oh yes, the Bloomberg stuff. So yeah, they showed a couple pages from his thing. Now, Bloomberg News has obtained more than 100 previously unreported emails between Epstein and Mandelson from 2005 through 2010, casting new light on the relationship between the two men and showing that it was deeper than previously known. That connection continued long after Epstein's behavior. Okay, so here's the thing he sent him like right before is this like the day before he gets arrested? Epstein gets put in jail. Mandelson sends him this. Reminder, you are fighting back, so you need strategy, strategy, strategy. Remember the art of war. I like how Epstein and all his friends are like just fucking pseudo-intellectuals. Like, the art of war, how is that he's okay. I don't know. I have read The Art of War, and I do sometimes think about it and use its advice. So maybe I'm being a hypocrite. And he offered to discuss Epstein's legal play with one or more of his contacts, although it's unclear who that was. In one cryptic exchange, Epstein referred to an upcoming meeting between his lawyer and someone he called Mr. Big, and told Mandelson, I need your guy to remind him one time before the meeting, then we are done. Mandelson replied, I will get a message. He is traveling at moment. Neither Mr. Big nor your guy are named. That's interesting. Interesting, but it's also kind of nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. He did not dispute the veracity of the messages. When Mandelson wrote to say he was going through a terrible situation. Oh, you're going through a terrible situation, Jeffrey. Epstein called him the emails show. Mandelson arranged to send Epstein a book, and Epstein bought Mandelson a camera. Okay, cool. Friends buying each other stuff. Most of the messages are short and breezy, but Mandelson's June 2008 email on the day before Epstein reported to jail stands out. You have to be incredibly resilient. Fight for earlier release and be philosophical about it as much as you can. This whole thing has been years of torture, and now you have to show the world how big a person you are and how strong. Mandelson wrote, your friends stay with you and love you. Weird. Epstein's 13-month stay in prison has since become infamous. Mandelson came to prominence in the mid to late 1990s. He was, I believe, was he ambassador to Ireland or something in the 90s, 2000s? At the same time, Epstein was friends with the Prime Minister of Ireland. The first message in the cache between Epstein and Mandelson is from October 2005. Mandelson had been European Commissioner for Trade for less than a year. Epstein had not been charged with any crimes. In public, he was known only as a wealthy but mysterious financier with extensive ties to politicians, celebrities, and Wall Street's elite. The emails in this story are published as they were written, complete with typos and grammatical errors, which Epstein did not know how to spell anything. He did not even know how to spell his own name, literally. This is from Mandelson. When are you going to the island at Christmas? I'm having trouble getting air tickets to St. Bart's and was wondering about going via US, New York, or Miami. But this also may be difficult because of availability of BA Air miles. What are your plans and how do I fit into them? God, that is so pathetic. What are your plans and how do I fit into them? That is like, this is a first email too. He's like, I really want to be your friend, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what are your plans and how can I be one of your friends, please? He replied that he'd be going there in December and added, I can pay for your tickets if needed. Here's a photo of Epstein and Mandelson hanging out on a different Caribbean island on December 27, 2005. Emails don't confirm who paid for the tickets. Oh, yikes. Rough, guys. That is rough. This is May 2006 again, so we're going ahead here. He got charged with stuff. Mandelson messaged him. Well, like, wait a second. Does it say when this was? 2006? December 27th, 2006? Yeah, this guy was like hanging out with Epstein on like, not Boxing Day, but like the Boxing Day of Boxing Day. You know what I'm talking? Like this guy was very likely hanging out with Epstein, spending his Christmas with Epstein. Like that's intense. That's a high level of friendship. I have friends who I love. I have, acquaintances who I love. I don't hang out with them on Christmas. I'm hanging out with my family, my girlfriend's family, my girlfriend. Like I don't. Yeah, this is crazy. Anyway, so this is after they get the probable cause affidavit on Epstein. Mandelson messaged him, "What's cooking?" As the children like to say, "What's cooking? I am in London, public holiday, heading back to BXL in a few hours. P. What's BXL? I don't know. Attempting to set up another prosecutor meeting. I'm following you closely and here whatever you need," Mandelson responded. The next month, he was back in touch. "Worried I haven't heard from you. Are you seeing them off and winning?" he wrote. Epstein replied with a missive declaring that the prosecutors had erred. This is from Epstein. So this is like during the trial. So this is interesting. This is like sort of a glimpse inside Epstein's mind in the during his hour of darkness here when he was being prosecuted. "I find this impossible to believe, but the district attorney said yesterday that he had the wrong facts and that even the allegations were much, much different than he thought. L. He was embarrassed." I'm going to read all the typos. "He was embarrassed and said that the worst they would do would charge solicitation, but 2 weeks. Decide whether to drop it altogether." A month later, on the same day Epstein was arrested and charged, Mandelson was pressing for updates. "Keep me posted. Where are you next week?" All bad New York Post said solicited a prostitute, Epstein replied. New York Post published a story about Epstein under the headline, "Mystery Mogul's Teen Sex Secret Bared in Probe." So he's messaging. So this is like Epstein's going through the hardest part of his life. And yet still Mandelson comes off like more upset and like pathetic about this. "Please stick with me through this." That's Mandelson saying that to Epstein? Bro, like Epstein needs friends right now. You think Epstein's not going to want to be my friend now that he's a cool sex criminal? Like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not English. I don't know anything about Mandelson. I mean, I know he's gay. So that, like, I should mention that Mandelson is, at least as far as we know, a gay man. So it's unlikely that he was being trafficked the girls. But God, this guy comes off like a fucking loser, Like, Jesus. Like, even if this wasn't to Epstein, if this was to anyone, like, if this was to somebody who was actually cool and, like, that I liked, I'd be like, oh, God, that's how they were sending it to him? Anyway, just, like, so, like, fawning and obsequious. Yeah, needy much? Exactly. Okay, a week later, Epstein told Mandelson an unidentified would meet with Jay Lefkowitz, who was one of his defense lawyers. Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him, okay? And Lefkowitz had been a senior advisor to former U.S. President George W. Bush's administration. In January 2008, he was serving as official U.S. envoy for human rights in North Korea, while simultaneously working as a partner at law firm Kirkland & Ellis. He would not be widely reported as one of Epstein's main attorneys in the Florida case until 2015. So, Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. Lefkowitz. Okay. So, does that mean Mr. Big is George Bush? And this is 2008, so Bush would have been president at the time. Whoa. Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. So this is during Epstein's trial when he says things aren't going well. One of his lawyers is Jay Lefkowitz, who had been friends with George Bush. Or not friends. He'd worked for George Bush. He was the envoy to North Korea. And a senior advisor to former U.S. President George W. Bush's administration. Oh, this is January 2008. So this is still while Bush was president. He was serving as official U.S. envoy for human rights in North Korea while working as a partner at law firm Kirkland & Ellis. So he was still working in the Bush administration. He would not be widely reported. Okay, and Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. Doesn't Lefke seem like a George Bush nickname? Like, what are some nicknames that George Bush had for people? I know he called Karl Rove Turd Sandwich. Yeah, for example. Okay, check this out. Check this out, gang. List of nicknames used by George W. Bush. Okay, so his dad, he called Poppy. That's Poppy Bush. Hey, that's Poppy Bush. I used to be able to do a George Bush accent. Let me see if I can do it. Now I need to make sure we know. We got to stop these terrorist killers. We got to stop these terrorist killers. We got to, like, what does he say? Oh, we got to stop these terrorist killers from using their nuclear weapons. Yeah, you fool me once, shame on you. As the old saying goes, fool me two times. You can't be. You got to be. You put it. You're not gonna get fooled. If somebody is a fool and they get fooled by me, that's twice. So you better not wait around for number 3. Now watch this drive. There we go. I don't know. I swear during the Bush administration, I had a better accent. It's been a while. I'm rusty on it. But anyway, these are his nicknames, right? This is his dad, Poppy. That's Poppy Bush. His, who's this? First lady. Yeah, okay. His wife, Bushy. I call her Bushy. It's my wife. I call her Bushy. Bushy. Calls his wife. Jean Chrétien, that's a Canadian prime minister. Count Dino. Vladimir Putin, he calls him Pooty Poot. Yeah, it's Pooty Poot. Ostrich legs. Ostrich legs Putin. Hey, look. Hey, look who's here. It's Pooty Poot. Now the party's getting started. Hey. Bandar bin Sultan, the Saudi Arabian ambassador, he called him Bandar Bush. He's like, welcome to the family. This is the guy who 9/11 happens to, by the way. Tony Blair, landslide. John Howard, Man of Steel. Junichiro Koizumi, Junie. Dick Cheney called Big Time, Vice. Donald Rumsfeld, Rummy. Israel Hernandez, Izzy. Karl Rove, Turd Blossom. This is his best one. Calling Karl Rove Turd Blossom. Also, Boy Genius is very funny. Condoleezza Rice, Condi. Dan Bartlett, Barty. Danny Boy, Dan the Man. Ari Fleischer, Ari Bob. Like all of the, like Michael D. Brown, Brownie. Okay, all right. Jonathan Horn, Horny. Hey, there's Horny. Ronnie Jackson, he called Scroat. These are fun. I forgot how fun these are. Amazing. But yeah, he had nicknames for these people. And now, so Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. This is January 2008. This is while fucking Lefkowitz is working for Epstein and George W. Bush, the American president. Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. That's, for me, that's all I need to hear. Lefke is the way Mr. Big refers to him. This could be the new this could be the new theory about why Epstein got off so easy. Is pressure put on the fucking case from Bush, from George W. Bush. That's nuts. Also, I have to add Jay Lefkowitz to my Epstein affiliations list. Yeah, that's nuts, guys. That's nuts. I know the big thing was like Vicky Ward, again, not the most reliable person in this whole case. Vicky Ward reported that someone, didn't say who, someone in the Trump administration had told her that Acosta told him that he was told to back off because Epstein was intelligence. That's what we heard from Vicky Ward from some unnamed person. Now, it seems very likely that the person Vicky Ward talked to was Steve Bannon, who'd been kicked out of the Trump administration and was actually a very good friend of Epstein's at that time and was just trying to fuck over Trump and kind of like playing 4D chess or whatever. And I feel like that's something that everyone has sort of latched onto and thinks is totally true, that Acosta was told to back off of Epstein because he was intelligence. Acosta's never confirmed this. He's never confirmed or denied it, which is interesting. He talks about it and he's like, I can't comment on that. That's weird. But it's such a weak thread. And a lot of people pin their entire understanding of the Epstein case on that. But yeah, I don't know. This is another possibility that like Lefkowitz, who was one of Epstein's defense lawyers working for Kirkland & Ellis with Dershowitz, Ken Starr, the whole gang of pals. Lefkowitz was the fucking North Korean envoy, whatever, was part of the George Bush's senior administration, was close to Bush. What if Lefkowitz asked Bush to put pressure on Acosta? What if that's what it was? What if maybe Vicky Ward isn't to be trusted? Yeah, this is crazy. I don't know. For me, this opens up quite a bit here. All right, so there's no further discussion in the emails about whether that meeting took place. Lefkowitz was in Washington on the next Thursday. There he delivered a speech about North Korea. Full schedule in Washington isn't public, but years later he confirmed he met with Bush at the White House that night, where the two discussed the speech. Come on now. That's gotta be Bush. Lefke, that's gotta be Bush. Another cryptic email came that June. As British Prime Minister Gordon Brown prepared to meet Bush in Washington, Epstein messaged Mandelson, "Your boy is meeting tomorrow with B." With B? Oh, okay, that's Gordon Brown, I guess. Oh no, that's Bush. B, like could be Big, Mr. Big, right? If he gets a chance, he could remind Josh Bolten, Bush's chief of staff. It's unclear from the email what precisely Epstein wanted Brown to remind Bolton of. Yo, this is it, guys. This is it. This is the case. This is the Bush administration getting pressure from Epstein, from Lefkowitz, from Mandelson, from Bolton, your boy. And your boy was, I guess, Gordon Brown. He could remind Josh Bolten. Oh, but Mandelson replied to say that wouldn't be possible. In fact, he'd met him this morning. It was one-on-one, I think, so no Josh. Through a spokeswoman, Bolton said he had no recollection of anyone ever raising Epstein's case with him, nor to his knowledge with President Bush. This is a different narrative than what we're used to hearing about the Epstein case. But look at this, eh? This is a fucking, we're watching Epstein pull strings here. So interesting. Later that month, Epstein pleaded guilty and began his prison sentence. That's when Mandelson emailed him to say, "I think the world of you." Like, Jesus Christ, crazy shit here. While incarcerated, Epstein still had access to a computer. He came up with another idea for how Mandelson could help him. Did you come across Governor Christ from Florida? He is Europe on a trade mission, Epstein wrote. He would be instrumental in a pardon, as I pled guilty to a state offense. How are you? Tell me more. Florida Governor Carly Christ spent 4 days in the UK as part of that trade mission. There was no response from Mandelson. Christ told Bloomberg he had no recollection of hearing from Mandelson about Epstein. Yada, yada, yada. Of course, but that's what everybody says. So, it's hard to be sure. This is the last email the men would exchange in the cash obtained by Bloomberg, but a hand of emails released in a separate lawsuit in 2023 show that Epstein and Mandelson remained in touch until at least 2012. Wow, that's crazy. I don't really understand what are these different email caches? What's going on with that? Okay, in June 2009, Epstein wrote to was that while he's in prison or is that the month he gets out of prison? I forget. He wrote to a senior executive at JP Morgan, Jess Staley, and this is the guy who we've seen those emails where Jess Staley's like, "I had a great time with Snow White." And Epstein's like, "And which character would you like next?" And he's like, "Beauty and the Beast." And he's like, "Well, one side of that can be arranged. That one, that's Jess Staley." He boasted of Mandelson's influence. He said, "For all intents and purposes, Peter Mandelson is now Deputy Prime Minister," Epstein wrote. Okay, skipping ahead here, guys. Don't want to spend forever on this, but wow, what an insane article. A few months later, Staley forwarded Epstein an email he'd received from Mandelson discussing opportunities in the Republic of Congo for the bank. God, Epstein was just fucking doing everything. This just seems like all the fucking the little octopus tendrils Epstein had out. Like, this is worthy of a massive conspiracy, like, bulletin board. It's crazy that we actually have the proof of, like, the documentary evidence on this now. Because all we could do for so long is just speculate. Nuts. Wow. So they talk about how Mandelson's relationship with Epstein re-entered the news this week with this birthday book, a picture of Mandelson in a bathrobe chatting with Epstein. It adds, "Wherever he is in the world, he remains my best pal." On Wednesday, lawmakers in Westminster peppered Starmer with questions about Mandelson. The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him, Starmer said. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship. Wow. Amazing. The donkey show. Mandelson is like a massive dude in the UK. He was, until like 2 weeks ago, the UK ambassador to the US, until this article came out and sort of showed that he was, not only was he like a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, it seemed like he would do anything for Jeffrey Epstein and was willing to like interfere in international fucking, like, politics, geopolitics, and get the UK prime minister to say shit to George Bush, and may have been involved in like helping Epstein get away with his like minor guilty plea. That's nuts. All right. That's Peter Mandelson. All right. Moving on now to the stuff that I haven't even glanced at. This just came out earlier today from Drop Site News. Jeffrey Epstein helped broker Israeli security agreements. So I suppose this is from the Ehud Barak emails, which I do have. We could actually look into this if we want. Jeffrey Epstein used his political network and financial resources to help broker a security cooperation agreement between the governments of Israel and Mongolia. According to, okay, that's interesting. A trove of leaked emails from former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. This new set of emails between Barak and Epstein has largely been ignored by the mainstream press, but includes crucial new context on Epstein's operation. Yo! I do have those emails. Like we can look these up. Whoa. There's Ehud Barak. There's the guy that was hanging out with Epstein like in 2019, helping him strategize on how to do a big comeback and, you know, do the fucking what's it called? 60 Minutes interview. Yeah, that's him in Mongolia. Wow. I'm going to skip ahead. This messages spanning from 2013 to 2016 show intimate, oftentimes daily correspondence between Barak and Epstein. Yeah, they were close. Their conversations addressed political and business strategy as Epstein coordinated meetings for Barak with other members of his elite circles. Definitely, yeah, Barak was really using Epstein as like a connection point. In the shadow of Israel's cyber boom it's really crazy how involved in all this stuff. In the shadows of Israel's cyber boom was Jeffrey Epstein, who's exploited his network of political and financial elites to help Barak, and ultimately the Israeli government itself, to increase the penetration of Israel's spy tech firms into foreign countries. Epstein actively supported the Israeli intelligence industry via venture capital investments and contributions to charitable organizations, non-governmental entities that laid the foundation for official Israeli security deal-making. The story of Israel's 2017 security agreement with Mongolia is a window into the true nature and scope of Epstein's operation. It does seem like, oh geez, my alarm's going off. It does seem like, Epstein in Israel, Ehud Barak, like he was doing all these investments. They were like doing work with Palantir. There's a lot of security shit going on. And we already had stuff about him trying to use his connections to speak to Russian people. Yeah, you know, like I feel very skeptical of a lot of Whitney Webb's work, but I have to say the more shit we learn about Epstein here, especially with regards to Ehud Barak, it does make her claims about, Palantir and Peter Thiel being like, they're the new Epstein. Like it is interesting because it seems like weirdly enough, Epstein was getting into this fucking very line of business, you know, and like Whitney Webb's whole thing is like, for generations now, the elite have governed the world from the shadows using blackmail. That's why her books are called One Nation Under Blackmail. Just 2 books. I'm like halfway through book 1. They're long and they're a little bit hard to read, but they're very well researched. And her sort of super theory is to do with that. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like there's no evidence. There's no direct evidence anyway that Epstein was engaged in blackmail, but like, it is interesting knowing the people that he knew, the sort of like, girls he was trafficking to these elite people, the cameras in the rooms. It is interesting to know that he was also getting involved in what Whitney Webb calls the next phase of this international blackmail thing, which is like security shit, like Palantir, monitoring, whatever. 1 month after leaving his post as Israel's defense minister, Ehud Barak visited Mongolia to meet President Sakyagan Elbeg George. Yep, that's how you say it. And top security officials. The Mongolian plan had been set in motion in January of that year, while Barak, the country's former prime minister, was still serving in the Israeli government. The broader goal of the meeting was to promote the Israeli defense industry's introduction into the Mongolian market, while seeking business opportunities for clients of Barak's consulting business. He received a tour of the Special Operations Forces Training Center, not physically present, but helping coordinate events behind the scenes. It was Jeffrey Epstein, according to a trove of hacked emails between Epstein and Barak, posted by Distributed Denial of Secrets and confirmed as authentic by DropSite. Epstein, a New York financier and elite fixer, who later became notorious for his role as a sex trafficker of underage girls. Is there, to the Finland station, direct evidence of Epstein being involved in blackmail? Sick. Yo, I'm so glad that you can post links now. Let's see. I can think of a few things that are interesting. Jeffrey Epstein appeared to threaten Bill Gates over Microsoft founder's affair with Russian bridge player. Yo, sometimes this happens with my archive links that they don't fully, like this is not, here, wait, but I feel like the thing is not, there we go, okay. Oh no, it's cutting off the edges. But okay. So I suppose this is blackmail. It's just tough to read this. Here, let me try one of my ways. Okay, well, yeah, in that case, I stand corrected. I mean, I can think of like people saying that Epstein, he said, oh, that guy hasn't got shit on me, or like him talking about he owes me a favor, like he'll do it for me or whatever, like about Bill Clinton. Apparently he told his brother, Mark Epstein, if people know what I know, the election would be canceled. And he said that in 2016 about Clinton and Trump. Here we go. Oh no, it's not working. No, let's try this one. It's weird that it like redirects to like something totally different. Dang it. Okay. No, I believe you. Sorry. I believe you. I mean, I remember that happening. Do we have like the emails themselves? Anyway, it's interesting that we, like that does seem like if he appeared to threaten him over his connections to blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's about his affair. That's like a form of blackmail. Yeah, okay. I will correct my statement. There is evidence of him doing that. That's good to know. Here we go. So this is about Ehud Barak and Epstein coordinating this. On April 21st, Barak arranged a meeting at Epstein's New York mansion for an overview of the coming days. The next day, Rod Larson sent Barak an email with the details for a proposed advisory team consisting of internationally recognized experts who could facilitate foreign investment in key industries in Mongolia. The draft proposal highlighted the great opportunity of Mongolia's massive natural resources, mostly minerals and metals, promising to accelerate Mongolia's economic growth and bolster its international status. Barak replied to Rod Larson's proposal, thoughtful, far-looking, and necessary. I believe it's a very goody idea. The archived conversations show Barak and Epstein arranged 2 more meetings in New York on April 22nd and April 24th. Barak landed in Ulaanbaatar in the evening of April 26th. He tried to reach Epstein for a final phone call right before the meeting. Jeff, hi, can't reach you on my phone. Please try calling me. In about an hour, I shall start meetings here. It'll be more complicated. Jeffrey Epstein, I tried. Call me now, 212-533. The itinerary shows Barak met with the Secretary of the National Security Council of Mongolia. At Barak's request, the CEO of Israel Weapon Industries, a spin-off of state-owned Israel Military Industries, delivered a gift to Segandari, a Jericho pistol in a box engraved with a date and a message, an appreciation of friendship, cooperation, and good faith. Okay, this was all right. Sorry, I'm just trying to see where does the Epstein connection come in here. Epstein began recruiting his associates to participate in IPI's Mongolia Advisory Council. On September 28th, 2013, Epstein emailed Barak to float the idea of working alongside Larry Summers, who, yes, we know Larry Summers. This dude, you may recognize him, Lawrence Summers. He's one of Epstein's boys, a Democrat economist. Barak responded affirmatively. I think greatly of him, especially in regards to advised for sovereign heads. We can complement each other effectively. So they got Summers involved. Oh boy. So it looks like Epstein was sort of connecting Ehud Barak with all these people, right? That he knew. Larry Summers. Oh no. WEF founder Klaus Schwab attended Mongolia night with the nation's president. The Intercontinental Hotel is a hub of action at Davos, Switzerland, right? Oh, and Epstein was joined this meeting too by phone. His professional affiliation in the meeting agenda was listed as financier. Interesting. Oh, the Harvard Crimson. Is this by? Oh no, it's not by Summers, but yes. Epstein is also well acquainted with Harvard University President Lawrence H. Summers. The two served together on the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations. So funny that Epstein was a member of both of those. Oh my God. So funny. There's certain things conspiracy theorists obsess over, like the Council on Foreign Relations, that sometimes pop up in times like this, and you're like, I mean, maybe they are kind of right about that. Maybe they are kind of right about that. Yeah, very funny. And when did this come out? 2003. Yeah. When he was still friends with Trump. All right. So guys, I'm going to call it there.